The Guardian of My Lai, how one sniper protected his village without killing. Welcome back to Hidden Vietnam History, where we uncover the most extraordinary stories of courage, ingenuity, and moral strength from the Vietnam conflict. Tonight, we're exploring one of the most remarkable sniper stories ever documented, a male marksman who defended his village for 2 years without killing anyone, using precision warning shots and psychological tactics to deter American patrols while protecting his community through non-lethal marksmanship. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button for more incredible stories of snipers who found innovative solutions to impossible situations. Like this video if you want to discover how Le Van Duc became known as the Guardian for his ability to protect his hometown of My Lai through intimidation rather than elimination, proving that sometimes the greatest courage comes from refusing to take life while still defending what matters most. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love connecting with our global community of precision warfare historians. Now prepare yourself for the most inspiring sniper story you'll ever hear, because tonight we're meeting Le Van Duc, the Guardian, whose 2-year campaign of non-lethal protection saved his village and proved that true marksmanship mastery means knowing when not to pull the trigger. Chapter 1: The Village Son. Le Van Duc was born in 1943 in My Lai, a peaceful farming village in Quang Ngai province where his family had cultivated rice for 8 generations and where traditional Vietnamese values emphasized protecting community through wisdom rather than violence. His father, Le Thi Minh, was the village elder and traditional healer who taught Duc that true strength came from preserving life rather than taking it, while his mother instilled Buddhist principles that emphasized compassion and peaceful resolution of conflicts whenever possible. Duc's childhood was spent learning traditional hunting techniques from his grandfather, who emphasized that taking animal life should only occur when necessary for survival, and that true hunting skill meant understanding animal behavior well enough to track without killing. By age 16, Duc had developed exceptional marksmanship skills using his grandfather's old French rifle, achieving accuracy that exceeded what local hunters could accomplish, while maintaining the family tradition of taking only what was needed for sustenance. When American forces began operating in Quang Ngai province in 1965, Duc's village initially maintained neutrality, hoping to continue their peaceful farming existence while avoiding involvement in the growing military conflict that threatened to engulf their traditional way of life. Duc's recruitment by North Vietnamese forces occurred after American patrols began treating his village with suspicion, conducting searches and interrogations that disrupted normal life while creating fear and resentment among villagers who had done nothing to provoke military attention. His decision to accept sniper training was motivated not by ideology or politics, but by a simple desire to protect his family and community from military operations that threatened their safety and traditional way of life. Chapter 2: The Moral Code. During his sniper training in the mountains near the Chinese border, Duc developed a personal code of conduct that would guide his entire 2-year campaign to protect My Lai while refusing to take human life, except in the most extreme circumstances. His training instructors emphasized that effective snipers must be willing to kill enemy personnel, but Duc privately decided that his primary mission would be village protection rather than enemy elimination, even if this approach challenged conventional sniper doctrine. Duc's moral code included 3 fundamental principles: protect village civilians at all costs, avoid killing enemy personnel unless they posed immediate deadly threat to villagers, and use precision marksmanship to intimidate and deter rather than eliminate. His Buddhist upbringing influenced his tactical thinking as Duc developed techniques for using fear and psychological pressure to achieve defensive objectives while minimizing actual violence and preserving human life whenever tactically possible. Duke's training in camouflage and concealment exceeded standard requirements, as he understood that his non-lethal approach would require him to remain undetected for extended periods while conducting systematic surveillance and protection operations. His marksmanship training focused on extreme precision at extended ranges, as Duke knew that warning shots would need to demonstrate accuracy that proved his capability to kill while choosing not to exercise lethal force against enemy personnel. Most importantly, Duke's moral code included accepting that his approach might result in his own death if enemy forces eventually located his position, but he considered personal sacrifice acceptable if it meant protecting his village through non-violent means. Chapter 3. The Guardian Position. Duke established his primary shooting position in the hills overlooking My Lai, creating a carefully camouflaged hide that provided excellent fields of fire while remaining virtually undetectable to American patrols and aerial surveillance. His position selection emphasized multiple escape routes and alternate firing positions that would allow him to relocate quickly after engaging targets while maintaining overwatch capability that could monitor all approaches to his village. Duke's hide construction utilized natural materials and traditional camouflage techniques that blended seamlessly with the terrain, while providing weather protection that could sustain extended operations during monsoon seasons and extreme heat. His observation capabilities included systematic patrol route analysis that allowed him to predict American movement patterns while identifying optimal engagement positions that could demonstrate his presence without revealing his exact location. Duke established supply caches throughout the hills that could sustain his operations for weeks without requiring resupply from village contacts, ensuring that his protective activities wouldn't endanger civilian supporters who might be questioned by American forces. His communication system with village leaders utilized traditional signaling methods that could provide early warning about American patrol movements while coordinating protective measures that wouldn't reveal military connections or support activities. Most importantly, Duke's Guardian position provided psychological advantages as American forces quickly learned that My Lai was protected by an invisible sniper whose capabilities remained unknown, but whose presence was consistently demonstrated through precision warning shots. Chapter 4. The Warning System. Duke developed a sophisticated warning shot system that could communicate different messages to American forces while demonstrating his marksmanship capabilities without causing casualties that might provoke retaliation against his village. His warning shots included carefully calculated near misses that would pass within inches of patrol members, while proving that he possessed the accuracy to kill, but was choosing restraint for reasons that American forces couldn't understand or predict. Duke's escalation system began with shots that struck equipment or terrain near patrol members, progressed to shots that passed close to personnel, and culminated in precision shots that could remove items from soldiers without causing injury. His most famous warning shot technique involved shooting cigarettes from soldiers' mouths at ranges exceeding 400 meters, demonstrating precision that exceeded what American forces believed possible, while proving his non-lethal intentions through impossible accuracy. Duke's psychological warfare included systematic targeting of patrol leaders and radio operators with warning shots that disrupted command and communication while avoiding casualties that might trigger escalated military response against his village. His timing system ensured that warning shots occurred when patrols approached within specified distances of My Lai, creating predictable consequences for American forces who learned that certain areas were protected by an unseen marksman. The warning system achieved psychological impact that exceeded what lethal engagement could accomplish, as American forces developed respect and caution for a sniper who demonstrated superior capability while exercising moral restraint that challenged their understanding of enemy tactics. Chapter 5. The Reputation Builds. Word of Duke's non-lethal protection spread throughout American units operating in Quang Ngai province, creating a unique situation where enemy forces knew about a sniper's presence but couldn't predict his rules of engagement or tactical limitations. American intelligence analysis revealed the existence of an exceptional marksman protecting My Lai, but conventional counter-sniper tactics proved ineffective against an opponent who wouldn't reveal his position through lethal engagement or predictable targeting patterns. Duck's reputation created tactical confusion among American forces who couldn't develop effective countermeasures against a sniper whose capabilities were proven, but whose intentions remained unpredictable and outside normal enemy engagement patterns. His precision demonstrations included shots that disabled equipment without injuring personnel, creating operational disruption that achieved tactical objectives while maintaining his moral code and avoiding lethal escalation that might endanger his village. American forces began referring to Duck as the Ghost of My Lai, while his consistent non-lethal engagement pattern created grudging respect among soldiers who recognized exceptional skill combined with unusual moral restraint. Duck's tactical impact included discouraging unnecessary patrols near My Lai, while encouraging American forces to avoid his village unless mission requirements specifically demanded operations in his protected area, achieving defensive objectives through deterrence rather than elimination. The reputation effect created strategic advantages as Duck's fame spread beyond local units to higher command levels, where his unique approach generated discussion about rules of engagement and acceptable risk levels for operations near protected villages. Chapter 6. The psychological impact. Duck's non-lethal campaign created profound psychological effects among American forces who struggled to understand an enemy sniper whose demonstrated capability exceeded lethal engagement, but whose restraint challenged conventional military thinking and tactical doctrine. His consistent warning shot pattern established psychological expectations that reduced American aggression while creating operational uncertainty about when the mysterious sniper might abandon his non-lethal approach and begin eliminating personnel. Duke's psychological warfare included systematic targeting of patrol equipment that created operational inconvenience while demonstrating his ability to strike at will without causing casualties, generating frustration and tactical uncertainty among American forces.
His precision demonstrations affected American morale as soldiers developed awareness that an exceptional marksman was constantly observing their activities while choosing not to exercise lethal force for reasons they couldn't understand or predict. Duke's psychological impact included creating mutual respect between enemy forces as American soldiers began acknowledging the skill and moral courage required to maintain non-lethal engagement, despite having superior tactical capability and lethal authorization. The psychological effect extended beyond tactical operations to influence American attitudes towards civilian protection and rules of engagement, as Duke's example demonstrated possibilities for achieving military objectives through restraint rather than escalation. Most significantly, Duke's psychological campaign created a unique situation where American forces actively avoided operations that might provoke lethal response from a sniper, whose non-lethal restraint had earned their respect and tactical caution. Chapter 7. The Village Shield. Duke's protection created a shield effect around My Lai that prevented the village from experiencing the military operations and civilian casualties that affected other communities in Quang Ngai province during the escalating conflict. His systematic deterrence prevented American forces from conducting aggressive search operations that might have resulted in civilian casualties, while his presence provided psychological security that allowed villagers to maintain normal agricultural activities. Duke's village protection included early warning systems that alerted civilians to approaching American patrols, while providing time for villagers to comply with search procedures without appearing to harbor enemy forces or supporters. His defensive perimeter created a buffer zone around My Lai, where American forces learned to operate with increased caution while respecting the territorial boundaries established by Duke's consistent protective presence and demonstrated capabilities. Duke's protection system included systematic observation of American patrol patterns that allowed him to predict operations and provide villagers with information needed to avoid conflicts while maintaining their neutral status. The shield effect achieved strategic significance as My Lai became known as a protected village where civilian casualties were prevented through an invisible guardian whose methods challenged conventional understanding of enemy tactics and military objectives. Most importantly, Duke's village protection demonstrated that individual determination and exceptional skill could create tactical situations where civilian safety was maintained through deterrence rather than aggressive defense that might provoke retaliation. Chapter 8. The Moral Dilemma.
Duke's non-lethal approach faced its greatest test when American forces increased pressure on villages suspected of supporting enemy activities, while his restraint was interpreted as weakness by some military commanders who demanded more aggressive tactics. His moral code was challenged when American patrols began conducting more intensive searches of My Lai, while his warning shots proved insufficient deterrent against forces determined to uncover evidence of enemy support or activity. Duke faced the dilemma of maintaining his non-lethal principles while protecting villagers from increasingly aggressive American operations that threatened civilian safety through escalated search procedures and interrogation techniques. His tactical situation became more complex as American forces attempted to exploit his restraint by conducting operations designed to test his resolve while determining whether his non-lethal pattern could be overcome through increased pressure. Duke's moral struggle included recognition that his principles might ultimately prove inadequate for protecting his village if American forces continued escalating their operations while interpreting his restraint as tactical weakness rather than moral strength. The moral dilemma intensified when Duke observed American forces preparing for operations that might result in civilian casualties, while his warning shots had lost their deterrent effect against commanders determined to achieve operational objectives regardless of sniper presence. Duke's resolution of the moral dilemma required him to develop new tactical approaches that could maintain his non-lethal principles while providing adequate protection for villagers who depended on his defensive capabilities for their safety and survival. Chapter 9. The Innovation Response. Faced with escalating American pressure, Duke developed innovative tactical approaches that maintained his non-lethal principles while increasing the psychological and operational pressure on forces threatening his village. His innovations included precision equipment destruction that disabled American communication and navigation systems without injuring personnel, while creating operational disruption that exceeded what warning shots could accomplish. Duke developed techniques for shooting critical equipment components that would force patrol withdrawal without causing casualties, while demonstrating capabilities that exceeded what American forces expected from enemy snipers operating under conventional engagement rules. His tactical innovations included systematic targeting of patrol leaders' equipment that disrupted command functions while creating personal pressure on commanders without threatening their lives or causing casualties that might justify retaliation against civilians. Duke's advanced warning system included shots that could disable weapons temporarily while leaving personnel unharmed, creating tactical situations where American forces found themselves unable to respond effectively without tactical escalation that exceeded their original mission parameters. His innovation response demonstrated that non-lethal engagement could achieve tactical objectives that exceeded what conventional lethal tactics could accomplish while maintaining moral principles that distinguished defensive operations from aggressive enemy action. Most importantly, Duke's innovations proved that exceptional marksmanship combined with tactical creativity could overcome operational challenges while maintaining principles that preserved human life and civilian safety through superior skill rather than superior firepower. Chapter 10. The Final Test. Duke's ultimate challenge occurred when American intelligence identified My Lai as a potential target for major military operations designed to root out enemy support, while his non-lethal approach faced its most severe test against overwhelming force. His preparation for the final confrontation included establishing multiple defensive positions that could provide comprehensive protection for his village while maintaining his moral code, even against operations that might threaten civilian survival. Duke's tactical planning recognized that major American operations might exceed what his non-lethal approach could deter, while requiring him to decide whether village protection justified abandoning his principles and engaging in lethal combat. The final test arrived when American forces surrounded My Lai with superior numbers and equipment, while Duke's position was discovered through intensive counter-sniper operations that finally located his primary hide after 2 years of unsuccessful attempts. Duke's response to the final confrontation involved systematic destruction of American equipment and communications that disrupted operations while maintaining his non-lethal approach, even under circumstances that justified lethal defense according to conventional military standards. His final tactical actions included precision shots that convinced American commanders that continued operations would result in significant casualties, while Duke's demonstrated restraint had earned enough respect to influence tactical decisions about village operations. The final test concluded when American forces withdrew from My Lai without conducting the planned major operation, convinced that Duke's exceptional capabilities combined with his unpredictable restraint created unacceptable risks for operations that might not justify potential casualties. Epilogue: The Legacy of Protection. Duke completed 2 years of village protection without taking a single human life, while preventing My Lai from experiencing the military operations and civilian casualties that devastated other communities during the Vietnam conflict. His innovative non-lethal approach demonstrated that exceptional marksmanship combined with moral courage could achieve defensive objectives while preserving human life and civilian safety through tactical superiority rather than conventional lethal engagement. Duke's techniques influenced understanding of sniper capabilities and moral restraint, while proving that individual determination could create tactical situations where civilian protection was achieved through deterrence rather than elimination. His reputation among American forces established mutual respect between enemies who recognized exceptional skill and moral courage, while his tactical success demonstrated alternatives to conventional lethal engagement that achieved superior protective results. Modern military training includes analysis of Duke's non-lethal techniques, while his moral approach provides examples of how exceptional individual capability can be exercised with restraint that serves protective rather than destructive objectives. Duke's story demonstrates that the greatest marksmanship achievement might be knowing when not to shoot, while proving that moral courage combined with exceptional skill can protect innocent life through means that exceed what conventional military tactics can accomplish. Today, My Lai remains a symbol of civilian protection achieved through individual moral courage, while Duke's legacy proves that true military heroism sometimes requires restraint rather than aggression in defense of those who cannot protect themselves. His example continues influencing military ethics and rules of engagement while demonstrating that exceptional capability creates opportunities for moral choice that can achieve tactical objectives through principles that preserve rather than destroy human life. The Guardian of My Lai proved that the greatest victory sometimes comes from refusing to fight, while showing that true marksmanship mastery includes the wisdom to know when deadly capability should be exercised with life-preserving restraint.